You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, GH fans. Just real quick, I want to tell you guys why Cyrus Renault really cut off all his hair. This is about Jeff Kober and a big casting update for the General Hospital actor and character. So we just saw on General Hospital on Tuesday that Jeff Kober, the actor that plays Cyrus Renault, chopped off his hair and shaved off his beard. And we know exactly why he cut off those beautiful silver locks and his silver fox beard. And we're going to explain to you why he had to do it right now. And they decided to do it on screen so they didn't have to explain it off screen. We're going to dig into that and reveal it for you. But if you haven't already, please reach down, click subscribe so you don't miss any of our GH updates. So, as we dig into Cyrus Renault and why he's doing what he's doing, it's becoming glaringly obviously to me that the writers have just decided to change the pronoun of the mob boss in Pawtuck from female to male, from she to he. No, there's not a trans mob boss. They just dropped the idea that the main writers had, and now the replacement writers have changed it to Cyrus Renault. And the reason he cut his hair is not anything to do with that. It's the reason he's also probably going to have an upcoming absence from our screen unless GH filmed scenes to cover a time when he has to be away from the studio. So we saw Mason Gatlin telling Austin Gatlin Holt to deliver the flash drive to the mob boss. Then he suddenly shows up at Pentonville to see Cyrus. And when Cyrus was at GH being treated for his heart attack, he and Austin were sharing all these knowing looks and glances. Then on Tuesday, Mason said, "You got to deliver the flash drive." But Austin says, "I have appointments all afternoon. I can't do it." Then we see Austin at Pentonville. And then at the end of Tuesday's episode, in the Wednesday promo portion, Austin says to someone unseen, "I've more than paid off my debt. I want out." And then there was another scene of Cyrus saying to someone unseen, "It's nice to see you again." So at a glance, it looks like Austin is saying that to Cyrus and Cyrus is saying that to Austin. And maybe that is what's happening, or maybe they're talking to two different people and they've cut it together. We're not going to know until we see Wednesday's episode. And do you also remember that TJ was so certain he'd met Austin's cousin Mason? Do you remember that two guys kidnapped TJ on Cyrus's orders? And I think we are going to find out that Mason was one of those kidnappers. So that's just more confirmation for me that Cyrus is the Pawtuck mob boss. But I still think Valentine might be related to the Pikeman plot. And then in the last moments of the show, we saw Mason meeting someone in the alley, sight unseen. And I'm just wondering if it's Valentine. I don't know. So anyway, what I fear greatly is there's an umbrella plot tying Pikeman to Pawtuck. So we'll find out more on Wednesday. But now let's dig into the meat of it. Let's talk about Cyrus Renault cutting off all that glorious hair. Why did Jeff Kober do it? If you don't know, Jeff Kober is quite a popular character actor. He's been on The Walking Dead, he's been on NCIS, and a ton of other projects. He's had more than 145 roles in movies and TV. He is a top-notch actor. And it's a brand new role that is the reason that Jeff Kober needed to chop his locks so dramatically, and GH decided to write it into the storyline. So you may remember that SAG-AFTRA is still on strike, and maybe you're wondering, hey, how can he be working on a new non-soap project when they're on strike? Well, I'm going to tell you how. So the SAG-AFTRA union just greenlit, I think it was 68 projects, but under certain conditions, and Jeff Kober is one of the main stars in one of the films that got greenlit. SAG-AFTRA has been on strike since July 14th, and you probably know by now the Writers Guild, the WGA, has been on strike since May. So then SAG decided to allow some indie film projects with no ties to the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. Those are the people they're striking against, and they've decided to let these indie projects keep filming. So they said that SAG members, quote, may work on these productions without being in violation of the strike. And they started issuing these green lights. But then on August 14th, SAG came back and clarified that they're also trying to support the WGA strike. So they're not going to green light any projects that have WGA members involved. So it's all kind of confusing, but the bottom line is one of these projects that is still green lit co-stars Cyrus Renault actor Jeff Kober, and it just ramped up production again. It's going to be filming in New Jersey, and that, of course, is very far from where they shoot GH in LA. So the movie's called Beneath the Grass, and that they're not talking about a lawn, they're talking about weed. It's set back in 2008, I think before weed was recreational, legal everywhere. And it focuses on a Latina mother selling pot to support her son. They started production in New Jersey in June, but then they had to shut down because of the strike. And then in July, they got greenlit. And so he had to cut off all his hair. And that's why we're seeing this now. So in real life, he cut it off a month before we're seeing it because they tape 4 weeks ahead. So Beneath the Grass is a drama about the criminal justice system and marijuana convictions, and Jeff Kober is one of the main 3 leads. And based on the cast descriptions, most of which are Hispanic, I think I've narrowed down who he is. I believe he is playing a police officer. The description of the project says a single Latina mother sees her illegal marijuana business in jeopardy when her son makes friends with a new neighbor, a young white boy with a police officer grandfather. Well, he's the right age to be playing a grandfather, and he's white, so that kind of covers it for me. And when, they showed him, he had kind of cut it off into this little thing. And then obviously they took him over to the hair room at GH and they did him a proper, really nice haircut, because then when he walked out into the area heading to see his doctor, he had this really nice haircut, shaved on the sides, neatly trimmed on top. Not the kind of thing you do with a shiv that was in your sock over the sink in the shower, but he does look really good. All right, we are going to dig into one more thing you probably need to know about this, but if you haven't already, click subscribe so you don't miss any of our GH updates. Drop us a like if you enjoyed this, and drop your comments. What do you think about Cyrus's new hair look? Do you think Jeff Kober looked better with the long hair or the short hair? So based on all this, we're certain that he's playing the granddaddy cop in that project. However, that also means we may be seeing less of Cyrus. We do have a spoiler for him next week on Tuesday where Cyrus is grilling Drew. But maybe they filmed Cyrus's scenes ahead to cover his absence seamlessly. They could have done that because he's over in the prison and he's on recurring, not contract. So it's mostly, him, Drew, and their prison pals. And it's not like the whole full cast at multiple locations. So it's easier when people are sequestered in one area to shoot scenes ahead. And they could have shot a few weeks or a month's worth of appearances in just a day or two, assuming they had the scripts ready to go. So we may not even notice his absence. And so anyway, this film project, Beneath the Grass, is why Jeff Kober cut his hair and Cyrus Renault is looking less scruffy, although I personally really dug that silver ponytail. And we need to watch on Wednesday to see if Cyrus is 100% confirmed as the Pawtuck mob boss, or if GH has somehow bait and switched us to surprise us. And I definitely want to see who Mason's talking to in that alley, because if this is a Pikeman Pawtuck crossover, I'm not there for it. I hate umbrella plots. We talked about that recently on another video, and I just want to say it again for those in the back. I hate umbrella plots. GH always screws them up. All right, thank you guys for listening. This is Belinda from Soap Dirt. Come back soon for more on GH.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.